A billionaire's world changes forever when a humble waitress repairs his daughter's broken doll, revealing that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest miracles. On a bright and busy morning in the city, Richard, a man known for his great wealth and powerful influence, decided to take a rare break from his busy life. Richard was not just a billionaire businessman, he was also a father who loved his young daughter, Emily, very much. Although his days were often filled with endless meetings, phone calls, and decisions that affected thousands of people, Richard always tried to find small moments to spend with Emily, the one person who made his life feel truly complete. This day was special because Richard wanted to do something simple and ordinary with Emily, something he rarely got the chance to do. He wanted to take her to a small diner he had heard about, a place where families gathered and where the atmosphere was warm and friendly. He wanted Emily to feel like any other little girl, free from the pressures of his high-profile world. So early that morning, he took Emily by the hand and led her to a cozy diner nestled on a quiet street corner. Emily was a cheerful girl of about 7 years, with bright eyes full of wonder and a smile that could light up the darkest room. She clutched tightly to her favorite possession, a doll she had owned since she was a baby. The doll was old and a bit worn out, with faded clothes and a missing button eye. But to Emily, it was the most precious thing in the world. She carried it everywhere, speaking to it as if it were her best friend, and often told Richard stories about the adventures they shared as they stepped inside the diner. The smell of fresh coffee and homemade pancakes filled the air. The place was simple but charming, with checkered tablecloths and pictures of families smiling on the walls. The sound of laughter and friendly chatter made the place feel like a little escape from the busy city outside. Richard and Emily took a seat by the window, where sunlight poured in and made the dust particles dance in the air like tiny stars. A waitress named Maria was working that morning. She was a woman in her late 20s, with gentle eyes and a kind smile that seemed to reach everyone she met. Maria worked hard. She was a single mother, trying to make ends meet and provide a better future for her little boy. Despite the hardships she faced every day, Maria carried herself with dignity and warmth. She believed in kindness and in small acts of care that could change someone's day. As Maria approached their table, Emily shyly held up her doll, showing Maria the torn arm that dangled loosely from the shoulder. The doll's fabric was frayed, and the stuffing peeked out in a way that made it clear it had seen many years of love and play. Emily looked up at her father with worried eyes, hoping he wouldn't be upset about the broken doll. Richard, however, was more focused on his phone, trying to take care of a sudden urgent call. He didn't notice the small moment unfolding in front of him. Emily's lips quivered slightly as she whispered to Maria, "Can you fix her? She's my best friend." Maria smiled softly and nodded. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll take good care of her." With gentle hands, Maria asked Emily to wait a moment while she stepped behind the counter. She gathered some simple tools, a needle and thread, a bit of fabric, and some patience, and began working quietly, while Maria repaired the doll. Richard's phone call lasted longer than expected. He looked out the window, feeling a mix of stress and guilt that he wasn't fully present for his daughter. His gaze fell on Emily, who was watching Maria intently. Something about the way Maria carefully sewed the doll's arm back on caught his attention. It wasn't just the skill, it was the care, the kindness in her touch. As the minutes passed, Maria returned to the table with the doll in her hands. She handed it back to Emily, who hugged it tightly, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you," Emily said softly, her voice full of happiness. Richard finally put down his phone and looked more closely at Maria. He noticed the worn-out shoes beneath her uniform and the tired lines on her face. Yet there was a quiet strength in her demeanor that made him pause. In that moment, Richard felt something shift inside him, a reminder of what really mattered beyond his wealth and business empire. For the first time in a long while, Richard saw not just a waitress, but a person with a story, with dreams and struggles like anyone else. And he saw how a simple act of kindness had brought so much joy to his daughter's heart. Emily kept holding her doll close, as if it were brand new again. Richard smiled, realizing that this small, unexpected moment in a humble diner might be the beginning of something important, something that would change all their lives in ways he could never have imagined. The day continued. But Richard's mind was filled with thoughts about Maria and the world beyond his glass towers and luxury cars. He wondered about her life, her hopes, and the challenges she faced. He wanted to know more, and so, what started as a simple lunch with his daughter turned into the first chapter of a story about kindness, connection, and the unexpected ways life brings people together. After that unforgettable day at the diner, Richard couldn't stop thinking about Maria, the image of her quietly sewing Emily's doll back together. Her gentle smile and steady hands stayed with him long after they had left. For Richard, life had always been about big deals, fast decisions, and a constant rush to stay on top of his empire. But Maria, with her simple kindness and strength, made him realize there was a world he had forgotten about, a world filled with people whose stories rarely reached him, curious and moved. Richard found himself returning to the diner over the next few weeks. First, it was just to catch another glimpse of Maria, to talk briefly, to learn more about the woman whose small act of care had touched his daughter's heart. He soon discovered that Maria's life was far from easy. Was a single mother, raising a young boy named Carlos on her own. Every day, Maria worked long hours, often starting early in the morning and finishing late at night, just to pay the bills and keep food on the table. Maria's job as a waitress was only one part of her life. Before and after her shifts, she took on other small jobs, cleaning houses, babysitting neighbors, children, and sewing clothes to sell in local markets. She dreamed of a better future for Carlos, one where he could go to a good school, learn new skills, and have opportunities she never had. But the weight of her responsibilities made that future feel distant and fragile. Despite the challenges, Maria never lost her warmth or her hope. When Richard talked to her, he noticed how she listened carefully and spoke with honesty and courage. There was a quiet dignity in her that didn't come from wealth or status, but from an unbreakable spirit. Maria had faced many hardships: poverty, judgment from others, and the constant worry about making ends meet, but she carried herself with grace and determination. Emily, too, grew fond of Maria. Every time Richard visited the diner, he brought Emily along. The two girls, one a child of privilege, the other the daughter of a hard-working waitress, formed a sweet bond over Emily's repaired doll. Emily loved hearing stories from Maria about her childhood, her family, and the small joys she found, even on difficult days. Maria, in turn, adored Emily's innocent questions and bright imagination. As Richard observed this growing connection, he began to see his own daughter in a new light. Emily's joy was simple, but deep. She didn't care about expensive toys or fancy dresses. What mattered most to her was love, kindness, and feeling safe. Watching Emily with Maria reminded Richard of the importance of family and community, things he had often neglected in the pursuit of success. Richard also started to reflect on his own life and choices. He realized how isolated he had become. In his wealthy world, surrounded by people who often cared more about money and power than about genuine human connection. The meeting with Maria was a gentle wake-up call, showing him that real strength came from compassion, humility, and the courage to face life's struggles with hope. One afternoon, during a break at the diner, Richard finally asked Maria about her dreams. She hesitated at first, not used to being asked such questions by someone like him. But slowly, she opened up about her desire to provide Carlos with an education that could break the cycle of poverty. She dreamed of going back to school herself, learning skills that could help her find a better job, and building a stable home where her family could thrive. Hearing this, Richard felt a deep urge to help, but he wanted to do so in a way that respected Maria's dignity and independence. He knew that simply giving money wouldn't solve her problems and might even make her uncomfortable. Instead, he began to think about ways to offer opportunities, whether it was a scholarship for Maria or Carlos, a mentorship program, or even a job within one of his companies. As the weeks went by, Richard's visits became more frequent and meaningful. He started to understand the community where Maria lived, a neighborhood often overlooked by the wealthy, filled with hardworking people doing their best to build better lives. Richard realized how little he truly knew about the lives of ordinary people, despite his wealth and power. At the same time, Maria's life was busy and complicated. Between shifts at the diner and her other jobs, she rarely had time to rest. Yet she found strength in small moments: the smile from a customer, the laughter of her son, the quiet satisfaction of finishing a difficult day's work. Maria was proud of what she had accomplished on her own, but she also longed for a chance to grow beyond the limits she faced. Emily's doll, now carefully repaired, became a symbol for all three of them. To Emily, it was a reminder of the kindness Maria had shown her. To Maria, it was a small token of hope that even broken things could be made whole again. And to Richard, it was a sign that life's true value was found in connections, not possessions. As their worlds slowly intertwined, the three of them, Richard, Maria, and Emily, began to change. Richard became more grounded, less caught up in his corporate battles, and more focused on the people around him. Maria started to believe that her dreams could be more than just wishes. And Emily, with her joyful spirit, continued to bring light to everyone she met. This part of the story is about seeing beyond first impressions and finding the shared humanity that connects people from all walks of life. It shows how kindness can open doors, how curiosity can break down walls, and how even the smallest act, like repairing a doll, can start a journey toward hope and transformation. Richard's journey of discovery reminded him that true success, it isn't just about wealth or status. It's about the impact one has on others, the relationships built, and the courage to make a difference. Maria's story, full of strength and resilience, revealed that no matter how hard life gets, hope and kindness can light the way forward. As the days turned into months, the bond between Richard and Maria grew stronger. They shared stories, helped each other in small ways, and learned from their very different lives. Richard found joy in simple moments, like watching Emily play with her doll or seeing Maria smile after a long day's work. Maria found encouragement in new possibilities she hadn't dared to imagine before. In the quiet moments at the diner, amidst the clatter of plates and the hum of conversation, something beautiful was taking shape, a friendship that crossed social barriers, a family growing in unexpected ways, and a future filled with promise. Richard's life, once ruled by numbers and contracts, was now touched by real stories and real people. Maria's life, once burdened by endless struggles, was now filled with hope and opportunity. And Emily's life, bright and innocent, became a bridge between two worlds that had once seemed so far apart. The simple act of repairing a doll had become so much more a reminder that kindness can heal, that people can grow stronger together, and that sometimes the most unexpected meetings can change lives forever. After weeks of visiting the diner and growing closer to Maria and her family, Richard found himself at a personal crossroads. Despite all his wealth and success, a deep emptiness lingered inside him. His life was filled with material comforts, but true happiness and connection had been missing for years. Watching Maria's quiet strength and seeing the joy she brought to Emily had opened his eyes to what really mattered: people, kindness, and genuine relationships. Richard knew he wanted to do something meaningful to help Maria, but he wasn't sure how. Simply giving money or gifts felt shallow and temporary. He wanted to offer something that would give her lasting change, a chance to break free from her struggles and build a brighter future. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that this opportunity could be a turning point for both of them. One afternoon, after a particularly long and tiring day at the diner, Richard sat down with Maria to talk honestly. He told her how much he admired her courage and hard work, and he asked if she would consider accepting his help, not as a charity case, but as a partnership. He explained that he wanted to offer Maria a scholarship to continue her education, or perhaps a position in one of his businesses, where she could learn and grow. It was a chance to use her talents in new ways, and to give her family a more secure future. Maria was shocked and hesitant. She had never expected such generosity, especially from someone like Richard, a man from a world so different from hers. She worried about whether she was ready for such a change, whether she would fit in, and whether she could truly succeed. Pride and fear battled inside her heart. She had survived on her own for so long, and the idea of accepting help was both humbling and scary. Richard understood her concerns. He told Maria that he wasn't offering a handout, but an opportunity based on her strength and character. He promised to support her every step of the way, but also to respect her independence. It was not charity. It was belief in her potential. Slowly, Maria began to see that this offer could be the answer she had been hoping for, but didn't know how to reach. At the same time, Emily's excitement grew. She loved the idea that Maria might have new opportunities, and she felt proud to be part of something bigger than herself. Repaired doll became a symbol of new beginnings. Just as the doll had been broken and mended, so too could lives be healed and transformed. As Maria prepared to accept Richard's offer, challenges soon appeared. The transition from the diner and her daily struggles to a new world of education or business was not easy. There were moments of self-doubt, fear of failure, and pressure to prove herself. Maria sometimes felt out of place, surrounded by people who had more experience or privilege. She worried about disappointing Richard and her son. Richard, too, faced his own challenges. Learning to step back from his usual role of control and influence was difficult. He had to trust Maria's decisions and allow her to grow on her own. He also had to confront his own fears: fear of vulnerability, fear of change, and fear of losing the safe walls he had built around his life. Despite these struggles, something beautiful began to happen. Maria's confidence grew as she discovered new skills and talents she had never imagined. She found joy in learning and in meeting new people who supported her dreams. Her son Carlos began to see his mother as a hero, and the family felt hope like never before. Richard started to rediscover parts of himself. He had long forgotten the simple joy of helping others, the satisfaction of genuine friendship, and the warmth of family connections. He spent more time with Emily and Maria, learning that life's greatest rewards came not from money, but from love and trust. The community around them noticed the change as well. Maria's story inspired others who faced hardship, showing them that with kindness and courage, doors could open. Richard became more involved in local projects, using his resources to support education and small businesses, bridging the gap between wealth and poverty. Throughout this time, Emily remained the heart of the story, her innocent laughter and boundless curiosity reminding everyone of the power of hope and kindness. Her repaired doll sat proudly on her bedside table, a daily reminder that broken things could be made whole again. As the weeks turned to months, the unexpected turn in their lives revealed deeper lessons. Maria learned that accepting help was not weakness, but strength. Richard understood that true leadership meant caring for people, not just profits. And Emily showed that love could build bridges across the widest divides. Together, it created a new family, one not defined by money or social status, but by compassion, respect, and shared dreams. Their journey was far from over, but the path ahead was brighter than ever. This part of the story is about transformation. How an unexpected opportunity can change lives when met with courage and humility. It shows the power of trust and the importance of stepping out of comfort zones. It celebrates the human spirit's ability to grow and adapt even in the face of uncertainty. Richard's offer was more than a gift. It was a key that unlocked new possibilities. Maria's acceptance was more than a choice. It was a brave step into the unknown. Together, they showed that life's unexpected turns could lead to the most meaningful journeys. The days that followed the offer and acceptance of new opportunities were filled with excitement and hope for Maria and her family. But they also brought challenges and hard lessons. Maria's life, which had always been full of struggle, was beginning to change. But change itself was not easy. There were many moments when the path ahead seemed uncertain, and Maria had to find new strength within herself to keep moving forward. Maria's first challenge was adjusting to a new environment. Moving from the familiar world of the diner and Neighborhood 2 places filled with unfamiliar faces and expectations was daunting. Now, she often felt like she was walking on thin ice, unsure of how to act or what was expected of her. Some people looked at her with curiosity, others with judgment. Maria knew that coming from a background so different from theirs made her stand out, and sometimes not in a good way. She worried about whether she could keep up with new responsibilities. The scholarship meant classes and studying things she hadn't done in years. The job opportunity came with new rules and pressure to perform. It was a big leap from serving tables and sewing dresses. There were days when exhaustion made her doubt herself, when the fear of failure crept in, whispering that maybe she wasn't meant for this new life. At the same time, Maria faced the pressure of balancing her old life with her new one, her son. Carlos still needed her care and attention. The demands of school and work often clashed with the needs of her family. She felt torn between wanting to grow and fearing she might lose the people she loved. She wanted to be a good role model for Carlos, but sometimes she worried she might disappoint him or others who counted on her. Social judgment was another hurdle. Some neighbors and old friends didn't understand why Maria was accepting help from Richard or stepping into unfamiliar worlds. There were whispers and doubts, assumptions about pride or motives. Maria had to learn to rise above these opinions and trust in her own path. She found strength in knowing that what mattered most was her family's future, not what others thought. Richard, too, was learning and growing during this time. He had to navigate his own fears and expectations. Having spent most of his life in control, managing businesses and people, he struggled with the uncertainty of letting go. Supporting Maria meant trusting her decisions, accepting that she might take risks or make mistakes. It meant opening his heart to vulnerability, a challenge for a man used to being the one who controlled everything. He also had to face criticism from his own social circle. Some friends questioned his interest in Maria and her family, suggesting he was wasting time or resources. Others saw his involvement as unusual for someone of his status. Richard had to stand firm, knowing that true wealth was measured in kindness and impact, not just money. Despite these difficulties, both Maria and Richard found moments of joy and growth. Maria's confidence grew each day as she discovered new skills and met supportive people who believed in her. She began to see that her past struggles were not weaknesses, but lessons that made her resilient. She started to feel proud of how far she had come and hopeful for the future. She was building. Richard found that helping Maria reminded him of his own humanity. He experienced the warmth of genuine relationships that went beyond business deals. Spending time with Emily and Maria brought a new kind of happiness, a feeling that no amount of money could buy. He began to use his resources to help more people in the community, inspired by the change he saw in Maria. Emily, as always, was a bright light in all of this. Her laughter and innocence reminded everyone to keep hope alive. She loved watching her doll, now fully repaired, and felt proud to have been part of the story that brought new beginnings to Maria and her family. As Maria continued her education and work, she faced moments of exhaustion and doubt, but she also found strength in her dreams. Carlos saw his mother working hard and was proud of her courage. The family began to feel closer, united by the belief that they could overcome anything together. The community around them started to change too. Maria's story became an inspiration for others facing similar struggles. People began to believe that change was possible, that opportunities could come from unexpected places. Richard's involvement helped bring new resources and attention to the neighborhood, creating programs for education and small businesses. Through it all, the repaired doll remained a symbol of healing and hope. For Emily, it was a reminder that broken things could be made whole again, just like Maria's life. For Maria, it represented the care and kindness that had opened doors. For Richard, it was a daily lesson in humility and the power of small acts to create big changes. The challenges of this part of the story show that growth and transformation are not easy or quick. They require courage, patience, and the willingness to face fears and doubts. But they also bring rewards, new skills, new friendships, and a deeper understanding of what matters most. Maria's journey teaches that no matter how hard life gets, Hope and kindness can light the way forward. Richard's journey shows that true leadership means caring for people and communities. And Emily's story reminds us all that love and innocence can build bridges between worlds together. They had begun to build a new life, one filled with possibilities, challenges, and above all, hope. The unexpected turn in their lives was no longer just about a repaired doll, but about healing, growth, and the power of connection to change everything. The final chapter of this remarkable journey began with a quiet but powerful shift in all their lives. Richard, Maria, Emily, and Carlos were no longer just people connected by chance. They were a family united by shared experiences, trust, and hope. The path they had walked was filled with struggles, surprises, and growth. But now the future looked bright and full of promise. Maria had come a long way since the day Richard first saw her fixing Emily's doll. She was no longer just the hard-working waitress struggling to make ends meet. She had grown into a confident woman, equipped with new skills and a fresh outlook on life. Her education was progressing, and the job Richard had helped her get was opening doors she had only dreamed of before. Her son Carlos, inspired by his mother's courage and determination, was doing well in school. He was a happy boy with big dreams, supported by a mother who now had the time and resources to nurture his talents. Maria had managed to balance her responsibilities, proving that even in the toughest circumstances, love and dedication could create miracles. Richard, too, had changed in ways he never expected. The experience had humbled him and opened his heart. His business empire remained strong, but he had learned that his true legacy would be measured not by profits or power, but by the positive impact he made on people's lives. Richard had become a man who valued relationships over riches, kindness over status. Emily, the little girl with the repaired doll, was still full of wonder and joy. She had witnessed the power of kindness and change up close, and it had made her more compassionate and understanding. She loved Maria and Carlos like family, and her laughter filled their homes and hearts. The repaired doll, once a simple toy, had become a symbol of their journey of brokenness mended, struggles overcome, and hope restored. It reminded them daily that even when life feels shattered, healing is possible. As time passed, their story inspired others in the community. Richard used his influence and resources to launch initiatives supporting education and small businesses. Maria became a role model, speaking at local events about her journey and encouraging others to never give up. Carlos and Emily helped by volunteering, spreading joy and hope wherever they went. There were still challenges, of course. Life was never perfect. But now, armed with faith, resilience, and a network of support, they faced those challenges together. They had learned to lean on each other and to believe that no obstacle was too great. The unexpected turn in their lives taught them all powerful lessons. Richard understood that true wealth was kindness and connection. Maria realized that accepting help was a sign of strength, not weakness. Emily discovered that love could build bridges across all differences. And Carlos learned that with hope and hard work, dreams could come true. Their journey was a beautiful reminder that life's most valuable treasures are not things but people. It showed how a small act of kindness, repairing a broken doll, could change lives forever. Looking back, Richard often thought about that first day at the diner. Who would have imagined that a simple moment would lead to such transformation? He felt grateful for the chance to know Maria and her family, and proud of the change they had created together. Maria, too, treasured the journey. It wasn't easy, but every step had been worth it. She had found new purpose, a new family, and a new future. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but now she faced them with hope and confidence. Emily's smile remained the brightest light in their lives. She was a constant reminder of the magic in small things and the power of love. As the story came to a close, one thing was clear: life's unexpected turns could lead to the most wonderful destinations. When people open their hearts, believe in each other, and work together, anything is possible. Their story was no longer just about a billionaire, a waitress, a little girl, and a broken doll. It was about hope, resilience, and the power of human kindness. It was a story that would live on in their hearts forever, a story that inspired everyone who heard it too. Believe in the beauty of second chances and the strength of connection.